A Sunday afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte. A Sunday afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte, French, un dimanche après-midi à l'île de la Grande Jatte, painted from 1884 to 1886, is Georges Seurat's most famous work. It is a leading example of pointillist technique, executed on a large canvas. Seurat's composition includes a number of Parisians at a park on the banks of the River Seine. Background. In 1879 Georges Seurat enlisted as a soldier in the French army and was back home by 1880. Later, he ran a small painter's studio in Paris, and in 1883 showed his work publicly for the first time. The following year, Seurat began to work on La Grande Jatte and exhibited the painting in the spring of 1886 with the Impressionists. With La Grande Jatte, Seurat was immediately acknowledged as the leader of a new and rebellious form of Impressionism called Neo-impressionism. Seurat painted A Sunday Afternoon between May 1884 and March 1885, and from October 1885 to May 1886, focusing meticulously on the landscape of the park. He reworked the original and completed numerous preliminary drawings and oil sketches. He sat in the park, creating numerous sketches of the various figures in order to perfect their form. He concentrated on issues of color, light, and form. The painting is approximately 2 by 3 meters, 7 by 10 feet, in size. Inspired by optical effects and perception inherent in the color theories of Michel-Eugène Chevreul, Ogden Rood, and others, Seurat adapted this scientific research to his painting. Seurat contrasted miniature dots or small brush strokes of colors that when unified optically in the human eye were perceived as a single shade or hue. He believed that this form of painting, called divisionism at the time, a term he preferred, but now known as pointillism, would make the colors more brilliant and powerful than standard brush strokes. The use of dots of almost uniform size came in the second year of his work on the painting, 1885–86. To make the experience of the painting even more vivid, he surrounded it with a frame of painted dots, which in turn he enclosed with a pure white, wooden frame, which is how the painting is exhibited today at the Art Institute of Chicago. The island of La Grande Jatte is located at the very gates of Paris, lying in the Seine between Neuilly and Levallois-Perret, a short distance from where La Défense Business District currently stands. Although for many years it was an industrial site, it is today the site of a public garden and a housing development. When Seurat began the painting in 1884, the island was a bucolic retreat far from the urban center. The painting was first exhibited at the 8th, and last, Impressionist exhibition in May 1886, then in August 1886, dominating the second salon of the Société des Artistes Indépendants, of which Seurat had been a founder in 1884. Seurat was extremely disciplined, always serious, and private to the point of secretiveness for the most part, steering his own steady course. As a painter, he wanted to make a difference in the history of art and with La Grande Jatte, succeeded. become of these people and their class. Seurat paints their prospects bleakly, cloaked as they are in shadow and suspicion of sin. In the 1950s, historian and Marxist philosopher Ernst Bloch drew social and political significance from Seurat's La Grande Jatte. The historian's focal point was Seurat's mechanical use of the figures and what their static nature said about French society at the time. Afterward, the work received heavy criticism by many that centered on the artist's mathematical and robotic interpretation of modernity in Paris. According to historian of modernism William R. Everdell, Seurat himself told a sympathetic critic, Gustave Kahn, that his model was the Panathena procession in the Parthenon frieze. But Seurat didn't want to paint ancient Athenians. He wanted to make the moderns file past, in their essential form. By moderns he meant nothing very complicated. He wanted ordinary people as his subject, an ordinary life. He was a bit of a démocrate communard, as one of his friends remarked, referring to the left-wing revolutionaries of 1871, and he was fascinated by the way things distinct and different encountered each other, the city and the country, the farm and the factory, the bourgeois and the proletarian meeting at their edges in a sort of harmony of opposites. The border of the painting is, unusually, in inverted color, as if the world around them is also slowly inverting from the way of life they have known. Seen in this context, the boy who bathes on the other side of the river bank at Asnières appears to be calling out to them, as if to say, "We are the future. Come and join us." Painting materials. Seurat painted the La Grande Jatte in 3 distinct stages. In the first stage, which was started in 1884, Seurat mixed his paints from several individual pigments and was still using dull earth pigments such as ochre or burnt sienna. In the second stage, during 1885 and 1886, Seurat dispensed with the earth pigments and also limited the number of individual pigments in his paints. This change in Seurat's palette was due to his application of the advanced color theories of his time. His intention was to paint small dots or strokes of pure color that would then mix on the retina of the beholder to achieve the desired color impression instead of the usual practice of mixing individual pigments. Seurat's palette consisted of the usual pigments of his time such as cobalt blue, emerald green and vermilion. Additionally, Seurat used then new pigment zinc yellow, zinc chromate, predominantly for yellow highlights in the sunlit grass in the middle of the painting but also in mixtures with orange and blue pigments. In the century and more since the painting's completion, the zinc yellow has darkened to brown, a color degeneration that was already showing in the painting in Seurat's lifetime. The discoloration of the originally bright yellow, zinc chromate, to brownish color is due to the chemical reaction of the chromate ions to orange-colored dichromate ions. In the third stage during 1888–89, Seurat added the colored borders to his composition. The results of investigation into the discoloration of this painting have been combined with further research into natural aging of paints to digitally rejuvenate the painting. Acquisition by the Art Institute of Chicago. In 1923, Frederick Bartlett was appointed trustee of the Art Institute of Chicago. He and his second wife, Helen Birch Bartlett, loaned their collection of French post-impressionist and modernist art to the museum. It was Mrs. Bartlett who had an interest in French and avant-garde artists and influenced her husband's collecting tastes. Sunday afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte was purchased on the advice of the Art Institute of Chicago's curatorial staff in 1924. In conceptual artist Don Solender's 1974–75 book Observation and Scholarship Examination for Art Historians, Museum Directors, Artists, Dealers, and Collectors, it is claimed that the Institute paid $24,000 for the work, over $354,000 in 2018 dollars. In 1958, the painting was loaned out for the only time, to the Museum of Modern Art in New York. On April 15, 1958, a fire there, which killed one person on the second floor of the museum, forced the evacuation of the painting, which had been on a floor above the fire in the Whitney Museum, which adjoined MoMA at the time. Acquisition by the Art Institute of Chicago. In 1923, Frederick Bartlett was appointed trustee of the Art Institute of Chicago. He and his second wife, Helen Birch Bartlett, loaned their collection of French post-impressionist and modernist art to the museum. It was Mrs. Bartlett who had an interest in French and avant-garde artists and influenced her husband's collecting tastes. Sunday afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte was purchased on the advice of the Art Institute of Chicago's curatorial staff in 1924. In conceptual artist Don Solender's 1974–75 book Observation and Scholarship Examination for Art Historians, Museum Directors, Artists, Dealers, and Collectors, it is claimed that the Institute paid $24,000 for the work, over $354,000 in 2018 dollars. In 1958, the painting was loaned out for the only time, to the Museum of Modern Art in New York. On April 15, 1958, a fire there, which killed one person on the second floor of the museum, forced the evacuation of the painting, which had been on a floor above the fire in the Whitney Museum, which adjoined MoMA at the time. In popular culture, the May 1976 issue of Playboy magazine featured Nancy Cameron, Playmate of the Month in January 1974 on its cover, superimposed on the painting in similar style. The often hidden bunny logo was disguised as one of the millions of dots. The painting and the life of its artist were the basis for the 1984 Broadway musical Sunday in the Park with George by Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine. Subsequently, the painting is sometimes referred to by the misnomer Sunday in the Park. The painting is prominently featured in the 1986 comedy film Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Such use is parroted, among others, in Looney Tunes, Back in Action, Family Guy, and Muppet Babies. In The Simpsons episode Mom and Pop Art, 10x19, Barney Gumble offers to pay for a beer with a handmade reproduction of the painting. In Topiary Park, formerly Old Deaf School Park, in Columbus, Ohio, sculptor James T. Mason recreated the painting in topiary form. The installation was completed in 1989. The painting was the inspiration for a commemorative poster printed for the 1993 Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix, with racing cars and the Detroit skyline added. In 2011, the cast of the US version of The Office recreated the painting for a poster to promote the show's 7th season finale. The cover photo of the June 2014 edition of San Francisco Magazine, the Oakland issue, special edition, features a scene on the shore of Lake Merritt that recreates the poses of the figures in Seurat's painting.